Outside the ancient walls of the quiet city of Taroudant, in the blazing summer heat of August 2004, a terrible discovery was made. Local residents, walking along the edge of a dry ravine known as Oued El Wer, stumbled upon something that froze their blood: scattered bones, human remains, and skulls half buried in the dusty earth. The smell of death lingered faintly in the air, and the horrifying sight was unlike anything they had seen before. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood, and within hours, the police were on the scene. What they found confirmed the villagers' worst fears. Skulls, small ones, fragile, unmistakably belonging to children, were lying among torn pieces of fabric and soil that had been disturbed. 8 skulls in total, 8 small lives, extinguished and hidden away, only to resurface years later under the relentless sun. The investigators marked the area, cordoning it off as journalists rushed in with their cameras. The people of Taroudant gathered in silence, their whispers filled with terror, their eyes fixed on the horrifying relics of innocence stolen. The police immediately launched an intensive investigation. Every skull was carefully collected, every fragment of bone placed in evidence bags, and every inch of the soil was examined. Samples of the dirt clinging to the bones were taken for analysis, and it didn't take long for forensic experts to realize that these bodies hadn't always rested here. The composition of the soil revealed that the children had been buried somewhere else before being moved and dumped in this dry ravine. This was a calculated act. Whoever had done this was hiding something far more sinister. Scientists confirmed that the bones had once been laid to rest in a piece of land prepared for construction. This single detail gave detectives their first real lead. They now knew that the killer had used one of the many vacant lots around the city as his personal graveyard. The question was, who and why? To answer that, police turned to the families of Taroudant. For years, some parents had reported their children missing. Street kids, they were called, little boys who spent their days at the bus station, working odd jobs, cleaning windshields, carrying bags, sometimes begging for a few dirhams. Many had vanished without a trace, their families left in despair. Now, with the discovery of the skulls, those same parents were called in. DNA samples were taken, compared with the remains, and soon the truth came crashing down. 3 families received confirmation that their missing children were among the dead. Their grief was unbearable, their cries echoing in the police station. And for detectives, it meant one thing. The killer had deliberately targeted the weakest, the most vulnerable. Those no one would notice were gone. From the start, this was no random monster. It was someone who had chosen his victims with cruel precision. As the investigation deepened, a chilling clue emerged. Among the bones, detectives found a scrap of paper with a name scribbled on it: El Hadi. The handwriting was rough, hurried, and the meaning was unclear. Was it the name of a victim, a witness, or the killer himself? The discovery of the skulls sent shockwaves through Taroudant, and the police knew they had little time to waste. The clue they had found, the crumpled piece of paper with the name El Hadi, became their focus. Who was El Hadi? Was he connected to the children, or was he the killer himself? Investigators turned their attention to the central bus station, a place notorious for being the daily shelter of countless street children. It was here, in the chaotic heart of the city, that many of the victims had last been seen alive. Children at the station carried bags for travelers, cleaned car windows, begged for coins, or simply loitered, hoping to scrape together a few dirhams to survive. Many of them were forgotten by their families, left to fend for themselves. And now, detectives suspected it was this very place that had become the hunting ground of a predator. The police began interviewing workers and regulars at the station. It didn't take long before a lead surfaced. Several people mentioned the name El Hadi, but the name wasn't unique. There were brothers who worked there, both carrying the family name. One of them, a man named Najib El Hadi, earned an honest living helping around the station. When detectives questioned him, Najib insisted on his innocence, but he did admit something that made their blood run cold. He had a brother named Abdelaâli Hadi, who also worked around the bus station and lived in a poor neighborhood called Al Mahida. This was the breakthrough investigators had been waiting for. They now had a face to attach to the mysterious name. Abdelaâli Hadi was not just another man scraping a living at the bus station. He was about to become the prime suspect in one of Morocco's darkest criminal cases. Armed with this information, police accompanied Najib to Abdelaâli's shack in the slums of Al Mahida. The small house was nothing more than a makeshift tin structure hidden in a cluster of narrow alleys. The officers knocked on the door, their hearts pounding with anticipation. A moment later, the door creaked open, and standing there was Abdelaâli himself. What he said next stunned them all. Without hesitation, with a strangely calm expression, he looked at the officers and said, "I've been waiting for you. Please take me. End my suffering." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. This was no ordinary reaction. Most criminals deny everything until the very end. But Abdelaâli seemed almost relieved. It was as if he had been carrying a terrible burden, one he could no longer hide. They arrested him on the spot, and the people of Taroudant would soon learn the horrifying truth about the man who had lived among them for years, unnoticed, unsuspected, yet responsible for unspeakable crimes. Abdelaâli's childhood was a story of unrelenting tragedy. His mother died when he was still learning to walk. His father remarried soon after, leaving him to endure a cold and hostile household. But the deeper scars came from outside. Cousins, neighbors, even boys from his school subjected him to repeated sexual abuse and humiliation. Those wounds twisted his mind, filling him with rage and a hunger for revenge. He later admitted he could not stop himself from recreating the pain he once endured. He did not kill randomly. He sought out the weakest, the forgotten, the children who slept in alleys, who begged at the bus station, who had no one to ask about them if they disappeared. In his fractured logic, he believed he was sparing them from a life of suffering. His method was chilling in its simplicity. From his post at the taxi station, he watched children with the patience of a predator. He lured them with small coins, sweet candies, or the promise of food. He studied their movements, waiting for the right moment. When the streets grew quiet, he led them away to the shadow of the walls, to abandoned fields, or to the silence of the valley where death awaited. For Detective Youssef, who led the case, the memory remained sharp. Each shallow grave, each fragile skull, each torn shirt, each broken toy. The case of the Butcher of Taroudant became not only a story of horror, but also a warning, a reminder of the cruelty bred by neglect, abuse, and silence. The city healed, but never fully. Even today, when the wind howls against the red walls of Taroudant, the whispers of those lost children can almost be heard, carried in the night air, refusing to be forgotten, This was Beyond True with you. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for more real stories.